Don't expect to see this in the mainstream media. Of all the talking head teenagers to emerge in the anti-gun hysteria that's followed February's mass shooting in Parkland, Florida, none have gotten more worshipful mass media coverage than Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School senior David Hogg. But for those with more intimate knowledge of the atrocity than the average blathering CNN host, the picture of Hogg is a little different. A Twitter post by Patrick Petty, whose sister, Elena, was murdered by the maniac who attacked Stoneman Douglas on Valentine's Day, casts Hogg in a light the mainstream media will never produce. One would think. But maybe being faded by the national media, making sanctimonious, anti-gun PSAs, and giving speeches on the National Mall just haven't left much time for normal compassion. Now, there's no question that the mainstream media has seized on the Parkland shooting to promote its anti-gun agenda. While the so-called March for Our Lives rally in Washington got over-the-top coverage, the families of victims who don't share gun grabbers' goals have been ignored. Hogg and the other ill-mannered teens who have apparently let the momentary fame of liberal victimhood get to their heads have been treated like child crusaders, standing up for all that is right and just. Conservative talk show host Laura Ingraham has even been the target of a boycott movement for daring to criticize the boy wonder from Broward County. But Patrick Petty's Twitter posting rips away the veil. And as it turns out, he had plenty of support. That last tweet summed it up. It's difficult to say how the commenter was using the word tool here. It might have just been an insult for a guy with an overinflated ego, which certainly sounds like it fits. But it's true in a more literal sense too. It's important to remember that Hogg and his competitors who appeared with him on that Time cover are teenagers, and they all have a teenager's arrogance, conceit and ignorance. They're frauds, but they still have the excuse of youth. But the liberals who have made them such objects of adulation are adults, men and women with a lifetime of experience manipulating the public and its emotions in the service of the progressive agenda, which generally means stripping rights away from American citizens. They have been using these teenagers as tools for their own political profit, no doubt with a firm eye on the upcoming November midterms. Families members of victims who don't share the gun control agenda have been treated abominably, as National Review's Myreed McArdle pointed out. And they were treated that way by the so-called adults who organized the Washington protest. Petty and the other family members who have been frozen out by Hogg and his high school clique have a grievance, and it's personal more than political. But the mistreatment of the families of Parkland victims who don't share the liberal agenda goes well beyond the teenagers who have been dominating television screens for more than a month. Family members of victims who don't fit the narrative of the gun control movement can expect no sympathy from that movement's supporters or its figurehead leaders like Hogg and company. And no coverage from the major networks that support it. The likes of Patrick Petty hold no interest for progressives. So when it comes to a story like this, don't expect to see it in the mainstream media.